Welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why, and how of newspaper reading. Today, we are going to discuss the Hindu newspaper dated 23rd February 2018. Let's begin. Now we move to page number 8. Here the news reads, Saving Lives, and it says, it needs political will for India to bring down its shamefully high newborn mortality rate. Now, what is this news all about? Let's see. This editorial talks about a UNICEF report titled Every Child Alive, and this report is on neonatal mortality rate. And in this regard, UNICEF has issued a country-wise ranking of neonatal mortality rates. And India has been ranked below poorer countries such as Bangladesh, Nepal, and Rwanda. So to understand and analyze this entire news, first of all, let us understand this word neonatal mortality rate. Neonatal period, first 28 days of life for any newborn is called the neonatal period. And this neonatal period is the most vulnerable time for a child's survival. And a child faces the highest risk of death in this particular period of neonatal period. Thus, neonatal mortality rate refers to number of babies dying in their first month for every 1,000 live births. More specifically, the number of children dying in the first 28 days of every month for every 1,000 live births. Thus, this is about neonatal mortality rate. And in this respect, as per the UNICEF report, globally 2.6 million children in the year 2016, which amounts to approx 7,000 newborn deaths every day. Now this editorial mentions that financial resources are not the biggest constraints in improving health indicators. So in this respect, let us understand what are the major reasons for death of a newborn child in its first month. Now major reasons arising in death of a newborn child is mainly related with complications due to prematurity, complications during delivery, and causing of infections such as sepsis, meningitis, or pneumonia, which often leads to death of the newborn. Now sepsis occurs when chemicals released into the bloodstream to fight the infection triggers inflammatory responses. This inflammation can damage multiple organ systems leading to death of the child. Meningitis refers to an inflammation of meninges or membrane surrounding brain and spinal cord. Meningitis in a newborn child may often lead to its death. And pneumonia is a lung infection leading to difficulty in breathing. In this, lungs become inflamed and air sacs or alveoli inside the lungs fills up with fluid. These are some of the major reasons for death of newborn child. Another reasons being treatments not reaching the needy, that is both the mother and the child when in actual need. And especially those women who live in the most disadvantaged areas enduring the harshest conditions without any medical facility. And as per the report of UNICEF, more than 80% of the newborns who died in 2016 died from preventable diseases and treatable diseases. So the death of these newborn child can be prevented if proper attention and medical care is provided to both the mother and the children. And in this very respect, the UNICEF is calling for universal health coverage starting with 4 main pillars, namely functional health facilities with electricity and clean water, midwives and other health workers equipped with training and tools, life-saving drugs and equipment, and adolescent girls, women and families empowered to demand and receive quality care. So UNICEF has declared these 4 pillars for the universal health coverage. Now premature death of child can be prevented by paying attention to mother's health, both before delivery and after delivery. It must be ensured that the mother delivers her child in a hospital attended by trained doctors and nurses and provide nutritional needs both to the mother and the children. And it is in this respect that India has started the scheme Janani Suraksha Yojana. Janani Suraksha Yojana is a safe motherhood intervention scheme under the National Rural Health Mission. This Janani Suraksha Yojana is a 100% centrally sponsored scheme under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare and integrates cash assistance both during pre-delivery and post-delivery phase. Thus in this news, we saw the UNICEF report on neonatal mortality. What is neonatal mortality? Reasons for newborn deaths? What are the various infections that causes to them? And how such death can be prevented? And in this respect, how Janani Suraksha Yojana is helping both mother and the child both during pre-delivery and post-delivery process. And last but not the least, this is the report as provided by the UNICEF under its report Every Child Alive. As you can see, this is deaths per 1000 live births, and the red dots is basically where most of the deaths are occurring. As you can see, this most of the African countries, this Pakistan, Afghanistan, and India lies somewhere between here 25.4. So you can see India is also on the red dot. So this is the exact report of 2016 as provided in this editorial. Now this topic becomes important both from social point of view as well as to understand about neonatal mortality rate, the reasons for it, and what are the possible steps which could be taken to prevent death of children in their early phases of life. With this, we'll move on to the next news. Now we move to page number 8. Now on the same page, that is page number 8, the news reads, Planning for electric mobility. Transition to an electric vehicle based regime will be difficult but well worth it. In this article, it focuses on the transition to an electric vehicle based regime. Because of air pollution caused by vehicles, mainly nitrogen oxides, sulfur oxides, hydrocarbons, particulate matters, etc. So considering the problems caused by vehicular pollution, especially in the urban areas, the government launched a roadmap for electric vehicle and asserted that by the year 2030, India would shift completely to electric vehicles from the current regime based on petrol and diesel. And in this respect, Niti Aayog also said that if India adopts complete electric vehicles fleet, then it would end up saving rupees 4 lakh crore. So in this respect, in this article, let us understand India's roadmap for electric vehicle and what are the issues associated with such transition, or what are the challenges which will be faced for a complete transition to electric vehicles fleet. Let's see. With a view to promote electric mobility in the country, the Government of India approved the National Mission on Electric Mobility in the year 2011, and subsequently in the year 2013, the government introduced National Electric Mobility Mission Plan 2020. This mission plan has been designed mainly considering the fuel security and environmental pollution in the country. So this NMEM aims for a cumulative fuel saving of about 9500 million liters, which is equivalent to resulting in reduction of pollution and greenhouse gas emission of 2 million tons by the year 2020. And as a part of this mission, Department of Heavy Industry formulated a scheme known as FAME, or Faster Adoption and Manufacturing of Hybrid and Electric Vehicles in India. Now this scheme is proposed to be implemented over a period of 6 years till the year 2020, where it is intended to support hybrid and electric vehicles market development and its manufacturing ecosystem to achieve self-sustenance at the end of the stipulated period. However, there are various issues and challenges pertaining to the implementation of this particular scheme and achieving an all-electric vehicles fleet by the year 2030. Let us understand one by one what are the issues and challenges associated with this particular implementation. The first challenge is with respect to coordination among various ministries with respect to electrical vehicles. As we know that the implementation of electric vehicles will involve multiple ministries such as Ministry of Road Transport and Highway, Ministry of Housing Affairs, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Ministry of Heavy Industries, Ministry of Power, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, and will also involve national institutes and Niti Aayog. Thus, coordination among all of these will remain a Herculean task, as this coordination will be necessary to address technical and infrastructural needs. So, this coordination among various ministries will be necessary to achieve an all-electric vehicles fleet, and this will be one of the major challenges which needs to be overcome for a complete transition to electric vehicles. Now, the other challenge pertains to choice of mode of implementation. Here, India needs to choose its mode of implementation of electric vehicles based regime. That is, which vehicle will India actually choose in order to promote its development. Now, mode of implementation means here, for example, electric bus, electric cars, or other vehicles. Now, mode of implementation here means that whatever mode of implementation India chooses, it has to provide the infrastructural needs accordingly. And when I say infrastructural needs, it means charging options, batteries pertaining to each vehicle, and other necessary infrastructure required to sustain such electric vehicles. In this respect, China has created an infrastructure for electric buses and Netherlands has created a charging infrastructure which is considered to be one of the best in the world. So here India needs to choose its mode of implementation very wisely as it also has to address other infrastructural requirements for such implementation. Other challenges pertains to use of battery. Now these electric vehicles use lithium ion batteries and as of now India does not domestically manufacture these lithium ion batteries and these lithium ion batteries are necessary for charging electric vehicles. India does not manufacture these lithium ion batteries and is dependent on import from China. However, in order to boost Make in India project, India should rather focus on domestic manufacturing of such batteries rather than importing from China. The next challenge pertains to charging infrastructure. In this respect, developing a charging infrastructure and selection of appropriate charging technology is also one of our major concerns. As of now, there is no standard global infrastructure for electric vehicles. Thus, to overcome this challenge, the government needs to develop an appropriate cost-effective technology. And the last challenge, as mentioned in this article, is pertaining to employment. India's automobile market is very large and it accounts for roughly 7.1% of country's GDP. Thus, it provides direct and indirect employment to a large population in India. Thus, moving to a complete electric vehicles regime may affect the employment scenario in the country. However, in this respect, India needs a proper roadmap with robust investment and technological research to implement its electrical vehicle based regime. Now, this is an important news with respect to your UPSC syllabus as it comes under infrastructure and also under developments in science and technology and their applications in day-to-day life. And with respect to pollution, it also cover under conservation, environmental pollution and degradation and environmental impact assessment. So this topic combines both science and technology and environmental impact because of the vehicular pollution or pollution caused by vehicles and specifically with respect to nitrous oxides, sulfur oxides, particulate matters and hydrocarbons. This topic becomes very important. So in this topic, the possible questions which may be asked, India needs a proper roadmap with robust investments and technological research to implement its electrical vehicles based regime. Discuss. Next, discuss the essential features of National Mission on Electric Mobility. How will it help in combating pollution in urban cities? And what are the various challenges which may be faced during implementation of FAME scheme in India? And suggest possible solutions to address such challenges. So after going through this particular news, you can answer these probable questions which can be asked in your UPSC examination pertaining to electric vehicles. With this, we move on to the next news. Now the next news appears on page number 9. Here the news reads, an umbrella for the consumer. This news is basically about the Consumer Protection Bill 2018. That is, a new Consumer Protection Bill has been introduced and it will be replacing the old Consumer Protection Act of 1986. This particular bill has already been covered in the January edition of Focus magazine. So let's go through the important provision as was covered in the January edition of Focus magazine. As you can see, the title was the new Consumer Protection Bill. It reads, the Cabinet has recently approved the new Consumer Protection Bill 2018 and as said earlier, it will replace the Consumer Protection Act 1986. Now this bill has been approved by the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. So the important provisions mentioned in the Consumer Protection Bill are, it provides stricter regulatory environment and seeks to promote, protect and enforce consumer rights. It focuses on faster grievance redressal mechanism for consumers and ensures a stringent action against unfair trade practice. So unfair trade practice has been captured in this new bill. Penalize misleading advertisement and has also proposed, as in the bill has also proposed to fine, prosecute and even ban celebrities who endorse products with misleading claims. Another important provision in this bill is to regulate corrupt practice, including food adulteration. One question in UPSC was asked in the prelims examination specifically with respect to food adulteration under the Consumer Protection Act 1986. And it says further, it proposes penalty as well as jail term for those indulging in such practices. It also says empowers consumer to file product liability case against the manufacturer if there is any defect in the product. So this becomes an important point as it effectively empowers the consumer to file product liability case. Next, it establishes an authority known as Central Consumer Protection Authority for a faster redressal of consumer complaints with respect to deficiency of goods or services or adulteration. The CCPA also have powers to initiate action suo motu or by itself on certain matters of unfair trade practice. So you can see in this particular bill, the concept of unfair trade practice has been captured effectively and even a jail term has been proposed for such unfair trade practice. It also provides for alternate dispute resolution mechanism, that is outside court settlement through mediation even after litigation of any dispute. So this is another interesting fact about this particular bill. Now it also provides a concept of class action suits where a common problem is raised by a group of consumers. So basically in class action suits, a particular group of people, a class of people raise a common problem in a court of law and it is addressed as a class action suits by the court and provides for proper definition and scope of regulation of e-commerce, that is online transaction. So this bill also seeks to provide protection for both online and offline transactions. As you can see, the reasons for this new consumer bill mainly change in consumer behavior, also the start of online transaction through apps as well as promotion of cashless society by the government. So the government also needs to provide requisite law back such cashless society culture. Thus, this new bill seeks to address all such issues which were not addressed in the previous act. Hence, this bill becomes very important both from polity section of the UPSC as well as from the social issue. In your prelims examination, simple questions can be asked relating to the new provisions included in the Consumer Protection Bill 2018. This topic comes under General Studies 2, that is Governance, Constitution, Polity, Social Justice and International Relations, and specifically with respect to welfare schemes, laws, institutions and bodies constituted for the protection and betterment of these vulnerable sections. And also under important aspects of governance, transparency and accountability. So this topic also becomes very important from your UPSC point of view. With this, we move on to the next news. Now on page number 1, this picture touching base is about olive ridley turtles as they return to the Bay of Bengal after nesting their eggs on the Rishikulia beach in the Ganjam district of Orissa. So this is an important information with respect to olive ridley turtles. So let us understand certain basic important points regarding olive ridley turtles. As you can see, average lifespan in the wild is 50 years, size up to 2 to 2.5 feet, and in the IUCN Red List category categorizes as vulnerable. So let us understand certain important aspects about this olive ridley turtles. Now these olive ridley turtles are the smallest and most abundant of all sea turtles found in the world, and they are found inhabiting in the warm waters of Pacific, Atlantic and Indian Ocean. In India, these olive ridley turtles nests at various sites in the Western Indian Ocean, Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia. In the Indian Ocean, the single most important breeding area for these olive ridley turtles is along the Bay of Bengal in state of Orissa, especially along the Gahir Matha sanctuary and along Rishikulia. Now these olive ridley turtles are carnivores and feed mainly on jellyfish, shrimps, snails, crabs, mollusks and other variety of fishes. These turtles spend their entire lives in the ocean and migrate thousands of kilometers between feeding and mating grounds in the course of a year. These olive ridley turtles are very famous and best known unique mass nesting called Aribada, where thousands of females come together on the same beach to lay eggs. Now these olive ridley turtles face serious threats with respect to their survival. Let us understand what those serious threats are. Now these olive ridley turtles face serious threats across their migratory route, habitat and nesting beaches due to human activities such as unfriendly fishing practices, development and exploitation of nesting beaches, development of tourist centers along sea coast, poaching on an extensive scale, especially for their shells, meat, leather, and illegal harvesting of their eggs. With respect to unfriendly fishing practices, the government of Orissa has made it mandatory for trawls to use turtle excluder devices. It is a net specially designed with an exit cover which allows the turtles to escape while retaining the catch. So this topic becomes important from your UPSC point of view. In this, questions can be asked on Gahir Matha Sanctuary, Rishi Kulia, and about status of olive Ridley turtles in the IUCN Red List. As you know, this comes under the vulnerable section. So this topic becomes very important. With this, let's move on to the next news. Now the next news appears on page number 10. Here there are two news with respect to Canada's Prime Ministers. It says bilateral trade must benefit poor, as said by the Canada's Prime Minister Trudeau. And in another news, it says India-Canada hold strategic dialogue. As we know that Prime Minister of Canada is on an Indian tour, however, ties between New Delhi and Canada has been in a frosty relationship because Canada is seen as offering a platform to separatist demand of an independent Khalistan. So India is also maintaining its distance with respect to Canada's stand. However, in this backdrop, Trudeau's visit to India becomes interesting, and as you can see that India and Canada held strategic dialogue on various issues pertaining to trade and investment, security and cyber security, energy, people to people contact, and other related bilateral and regional issues. As you know, the visit is still on and the news is in transition. So let's wait and watch for further development. And in this news, bilateral trade must benefit poor. Here, Canada's Prime Minister, while addressing a business session, said that it is important to ensure that greater bilateral trade and investment benefits all, especially the poor. So in one of its dialogue, he has emphasized on the poorer sections of the society. He further said that India and Canada shares democracy and diversity, and both needs not only to tolerate diversity but also to champion it. He further said diversity enriches our community and makes it stronger and resilient, and diversity spurs new way of thinking and spurs innovation. Thus, the Canadian Prime Minister is making democracy and diversity as a common thread between India and Canada. However, this news is in transition, so let's wait and watch for future development with relation to India and Canada's relationship. With this, we come to an end to today's newspaper. Let's move on to the question for the day.